Bob,
Hello, hello, hello.
Terry, I have a notice that Michelle would like me to read for the library.
Okay. Okay, we'll get you in.
Hi, Lou, Joe, Liz.
Oh, there, Terry. Did you go and work on my puzzle today? Did you go and work on the puzzle today?
Which pose?
What you waiting for?
Huh?
We got a puzzle down in the Red Chair Lounge.
It's classified at too high a level for me to work.
Oh, that explains it.
Oh, okay. I can, hang on.
Stop whitening your smile the old-fashioned way with strips and trays that can take 30 minutes to an hour. I'm Jonathan Greenhut, the CEO of Paris Swaps.
How you doing, Bob?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Let's see here.
You joining the old men's club here?
Got any what?
You joining the old men's club?
Old men stuff. I got all kinds of stuff. We'll see how much we can get in today. So. Let's see.
Every day from beginning to end, it's definitely wider. They look clean.
A couple
Hi, Liz.
minutes.
Betty?
Yes,
Hi.
hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the picture freezes right away, so I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yes. Oh. I pushed every button I can and nothing helps, so.
Well, sometimes you have to sign off and sign in again, but I don't know. If it's a constant thing, then you should probably report it as a problem.
According to Nadine today, we're not supposed to enter work orders for things like that. We're supposed to contact Sandy, who will maintain.
Well, well, let's discuss that.
Oh, where are we? Oh, wait,
Video?
yeah, video's off. Video.
Okay.
Hi, Jan. Ken?
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Terry, what work orders are you talking about?
Don't submit a work order for internet.
Oh.
Well, the problem is we need to have some written down somewhere. That's my problem with that solution. So we need to have a log.
Yes,
maintain.
Bob, I agree. Nadine today said that Sandy would maintain a log. And that Nadine would review Sandy's log on a weekly basis.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I have a couple other things I want to talk about in that area.
Okay.
So let's see. I think we can get started. We have quite a few things to cover today, and I suggest if you have a calendar, we have a lot of things coming up in the week on the Halloween roster. And Judy just gave me a whole big list of stuff starting next Friday. So I'll try to cover those things too. But we also we've got a busy week all the way around. So let's see, do we have any birthdays we want to recognize today? I forgot to look who on the list.
Bernie-
Bernie's was yesterday.
Bernie had his yesterday, and I don't see him here, so. But I guess is he still recovering?
He was at the town hall meeting.
Okay. Well, I understand he's back from the hospital and all that, but he's probably still a little bit under the weather, so. Just wish him a happy birthday when you see him, I guess.
Oh, I'm mistaken. He was not at the town hall meeting.
I don't think so.
He's home.
That's
Yeah, I know.
okay.
They wished him happy birthday yesterday. A bunch of
Yeah.
people went to his door and they sang happy birthday, I understand. So,
But I was told he's scheduled for an angiogram next week. So
I see. Okay.
they're still,
Yeah.
still doing.
They're still worried
testing.
about him. Yeah, okay.
And he's tethered to oxygen.
I think this is Nadine here, so I'm going to rename this phone to Nadine.
Hi, Bob. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hello.
Nadine.
There we go. Okay. Let's see. The other activities here, stories to share. Of course, we had our town hall this morning, and Nadine went through most of the news and everything else, talking about occupancy and how we're going to try to get it back up to where it used to be. We targeted for sometime in the first year in January or February, we get back up to the high 90s. We're down in the just about 87, 90%, something in that area now. And we got about 9 people coming in the next few months. I guess one of them moved in today, but I haven't had a chance to get the details yet. I was kind of busy at the town hall meeting because I kept getting these phone calls and I had, what the heck's going on here? And I'll have to show you why I was busy. It was a very pleasant experience to have. My son was calling me and I said, what's going on? And he says, well, it's simply that you are now a great grandpa.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's my son, and that's his granddaughter who was born this morning. And so I was really happy to see that. We were all worried about what's going to happen with, because my granddaughter, her birthday is tomorrow.
Hey,
So we were going to see who's going to have the birthday first, her baby or herself. So this is the baby Jonathan. And we'll
What is
wish him
Jennifer?
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yes.
How do you say that?
That's my son. That's my son, Steve.
So happy great grandpa.
Yeah. So I could sing a happy birthday to him, but no one will hear. I understand that. Okay. So that was my fun news. Okay. We also had a happy hour last week.
Hello?
This week? No, it was this week. Yeah. And I decided to show up.
I'm moving out of the way of the computer. I don't want anybody else to hear our conversation.
I decided to show up in costume, and everybody said, Bob, you need to go get a haircut. So I said, what's the problem? And I was dressed up as a lion. So that was my costume. Nobody understood what it was.
Oh.
You need to
Um,
look at your tail.
Oh, well, I couldn't get a picture of my tail. I
Sitting.
really need a better shot, but maybe we'll do that some other time. But yes, it was a regular shirt thing, and it had a tail in the bottom of it. And I was wearing a Lion King shirt on top of it. So, but we'll probably see that
Oh,
again.
Pretty witch.
It was hot though. That was a bad part of it. So that was at the Halloween happy hour, and we didn't have too many people with the costumes there. Nola had a witch's costume on and a few others, but there weren't too many. Okay. So anyhow, the idea of a special happy hour with great music and free drinks gets everybody out, and there wasn't a empty seat in the place, it seems. So that's what we need all the time now, to get more people out, so we get this place back to where it used to be. Let's see, the other big thing this week was our the big shakeout on Thursday. And Judy, you want to make any comments about how that went?
Sure, love to. Every time we do it, we discover things that could be fixed. And what we determined, a couple of things this time. Number one, for all of those of you who had to go somewhere and didn't know whether to put a green tag on your door when you left, the answer is no. If your apartment is empty, there should be no tag at all. We had a problem with a lot of empty apartments that had green tags, and we know they're empty because their car was gone and they were a single person. And then we had to have the nurse check it out and find out if there's someone inside or not. And that takes a lot of extra time for us. And I have a question for Bob Critchfield. Bob, I heard you were short of yellow tags, and we found some green tags on the model apartments that should not have been there. Did you put those on?
No, I reported that.
We don't.
I went down there. I have a feeling one of the nurses went in there and put a tag in there on it, but I tried to question it, and I reported to Ellen that there's an empty apartment. I was wondering, I was going to tag it empty, vacant, but it had a green tag on. I didn't know where the green tag came from.
Okay, well, I talked to Raleigh, who went gambling, and I had told him, don't put a tag out. So I accused him of putting a tag out, and there was a green one on his door. And he said, no, I didn't put it out. So now I'm wondering who's putting green tags on the door handles. And so I guess I'll ask nursing if that might be from them. Anyway.
I saw.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pam was down there and she said, all's okay. And then I had to go down and check for the vacant, put the vacant tags on it anyhow. And
Harry,
I don't know.
did you just go off? My iPad went absolutely black.
No.
No, Terry, you didn't go off?
See you, Barbara.
Okay, let me
I'm
cancel.
sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so the other thing we discovered is that we've been asking the wrong question of our block captains, and I'll be sending out a notice to all of them. And that is that we've been asking them for room number and problem and details, but we're not getting back the information we want. And so now we're going to change it to room number, problem, details, and who should we send? Because we want to either send housekeeping or maintenance or nursing, but if they don't tell us that, they don't get sent. And I had them all set up. I told Nadine, we'll be using housekeeping and maintenance this time. We always use nursing. And we only had one real call for maintenance, and that was with Barbara. And that's because I set up a problem for her to solve. And so we discovered finally that we haven't asked the question the right way. So we're going to now be asking the question of who should we send. So that was a very important discovery for us. And basically everything went well. We only had two people, one who was teaching, one who wasn't sure if he was still on the team. And so we had a full team working. Everybody got to where they were supposed to be and reported in the way they were supposed to. So we thank you all for participating. It really helps to run the drill, and we'll do another one in April. And probably we will not tell you what time it starts because that changes everything the way we get it started.
Okay, is there any, I've sort of missed the comment about when people are away from their apartment. They don't put the tags out, but are we supposed to know about that they're away?
No, you wouldn't know. We look in the garage to see if their car's out. We look at the transportation list to see who's
Okay.
gone to the doctor with our team of transportation drivers. We look to see who's signed out overnight. And then if we're still stuck, we look to see, do they have a private duty caregiver who's not aware? And this time, all of the units with private duty caregivers were completely compliant. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, right, right. Okay. So that'll be our question, how we find these people or something.
No, you don't have to. That's what we're doing. And we're
Okay,
spending extra time that we don't want to spend matching up green tags on apartments with cars that are out.
yeah, right. Yeah.
That's a waste of time for us if we're in a real emergency and we need to be spending time on missing people. Our goal is to do a census and locate everybody and make sure they're okay. And if they're not okay, to get help to them.
Right. Okay, good. Let's see. Nadine, do you have any comments you want to make or other announcements?
Well, I was we had town hall this morning, so a lot of you were there and heard that. I wanted to make just an announcement for Judy regarding Halloween. On Friday, the 29th at 10 a.m., we'll be having the pet parade in the bistro courtyard. So those of you who have pets, please feel free to participate. At 1:30 that same day, we're going to do a reverse trick or treat in the apartments. You do not need to have any candy for the staff. We will bring treats to you. And then on, let's see, at 4 p.m. that same day, the voting begins for the carved and decorated pumpkin contest, and that's in the Red Chair Lounge. And then next day on Saturday at 4 p.m., we'll have Lilies of the West in the bistro courtyard. And the winners will be announced at that time for the pumpkin contest. And then on Sunday, on Halloween, from 5 to 6:30, we've got a special Halloween dinner for you. And from 7 to 8:30, the tour of Haunted Maze. So that's what we have coming up for Halloween.
And we're supposed to wear costumes, right?
Well, it's not required, but if you have,
I mean, it's encouraged.
it's encouraged.
Right.
Exactly.
All righty.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
gonna be fun. And I've seen the menu today. I was meeting with Archie and Kim for our upcoming menu, and I got to take a peek at the Halloween dinner, and it looks very, very interesting.
You're gonna probably color the potatoes black or something like that.
It will be spooky.
Okay, spooky. There you go.
Fine.
Yeah, and then there's also, I guess, a Witch's Brew and Devilish Delight on Sunday night as part of the tour.
Yeah.
And so that should do that. Okay, that sort of covers the upcoming events. One other before that is we have this community fair on Wednesday from 10 to noon. And that's sort of a contest with, or they're gonna make it a little contest with a prize. Terry, do you have comments about that?
I
You said
do.
you- Oh, Barbara, go ahead.
I do. It's going to be a lot of fun. Residents will be asked to go around to each committee table and learn what that committee is doing. They'll get a prize at that table. Then after they visited all 9 tables, they will come to the raffle table, which I'll be handling, and I will give you a raffle ticket. And the drawing will be at noon, and you do not have to be present, but there are some really nice gifts for the raffle. Nice big gifts. So be sure you visit all the tables and then come and get a raffle ticket.
Barbara, on the handout, it says, find a person handing out bags. What's all that about?
Well, that will be some some of the members of the resident council board, you will get a bag from them, and that's where you will put your prize that you get at each table. You're gonna get a little
Oh, okay.
prize at each table, and you'll put
Nice.
those prizes into that bag. And then you'll come to
Ah.
me and I'll look in the bag and see if you've got 9 things in there. And if you have, I'll give you a raffle ticket.
Oh, so those are the steps. You got to have all 9 before you get a ticket. Okay.
That's right. You can't come to the raffle
Okay.
table first.
Okay. And does anybody know all of the different committees being represented?
Barbara.
Well,
Uh-huh.
oh my. Now you're putting me on the spot. I don't have them all in front of me. There's
Oh,
the
okay.
hospitality committee, the presence and enrichment committee, the food committee, building and grounds safety, whatever that's called,
That's 4,
music.
right? That's 5.
Help me, Judy.
5.
Fatality?
I said hospitality,
Musical theater, you haven't said yet.
musical theater. How could I leave that out? So they're all going to be there.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Terry, your turn. You have announcements from
Thank
the
you.
library.
I am now
Oh, the
Michelle.
library committee, yes.
7.
Thank you, Barbara. The November 8th, we were happy to announce there'll be a virtual tour with the LA Public Library. Not the Long Beaches, that's not part of LA, but the LA Public Library. They'll have a virtual Zoom, which will start at noon instead of 11:30. And Teresa has promised to provide box lunches, which will cost only 1 point. So if you wish to go to this virtual Zoom in the LLC, please phone Michelle or send an email to Michelle. She'll register you, and registered people would then get the box lunch. If you show up at the LLC, no box lunch. Teresa needs time ahead of time on that. Michelle will distribute Los Angeles Public Library applications to any of us who are interested. And we're supposed to complete the form by Sunday, 31 October. And then she will collect them all and take them in to one of the LA public branches and get the cards for us. We will also have to make a photocopy of our ID and proof that we live here. But for anyone who wants an LA Public Library card, this is the way to get it very easy. And there will be a lot of different areas, including some, I'm going to read, Hoopla, Canopy, Regal, Overdrive. I've got no idea what some of those resources are available, but we can get them through the LA Public Library. If you have any questions, ask Michelle or phone me and I'll read off this list. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So this is sort of some people a couple years ago did the same thing with the Anaheim Public Library.
And we did.
And we got to get involved with things like Kayak and Overdrive and those things. And they're web services that allow you to get access to library resources. And if you're interested, I guess that's what the subject of the Zoom is, right? The Zoom is going to cover these different services that they have available.
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It's not written down here.
Well, I think she talked about it last week, but she didn't really get into the agenda. So I'm sure that's probably what it is, because
Here's what
okay,
the
library card.
Anaheim Public Library card, and Michelle just got through a month or two ago getting new ones. So if you want an Anaheim Public Library card, Michelle will be able to arrange that too.
Let's see, I got one too, right? Here we go. So, okay. Anyone who's involved with the City of Orange, the City of Orange Public Library has all those resources too, plus others. One of the nicest ones I used to use, but I think they stopped it, were getting magazines all the time, free magazines. You didn't get the physical ones, but you had a chance to look at them online and read them like a Kindle or anything like that. I don't know if Anaheim didn't have the magazines, and I'm not sure if LA does or not. But that was a nice service, so you can keep up on sports or fashion or golf and all these different magazines you don't have to pay money for. So that might perk your interest. All righty, so we have a lot of things to get ready for coming up this week. I wanted to discuss another thing that Terry that happened last week, and we also had this week. So when they're working on the internet and we have outages, if they're planned, that's one thing. If they're not planned, that's another. I was under the impression that if we have a problem in our services, we call the front desk, and they are supposed to log that in. So they have a trace of whether the problem's being addressed and being closed out. And then they would contact the responsible person, whether it's maintenance or housekeeping, or for internet, it's Sandy. But Terry just told me that you're supposed to call Sandy directly. Is that the way it's supposed to work, Nadine, or is the front desk supposed to be as part of the loop?
We're asking that you contact Sandy directly, and if she's not available, then Teresa. But between the two of them, we can get that resolved. Because the work order is strictly right now, it's strictly from the maintenance and housekeeping departments. So we don't want to confuse them. The best way to do it is to email. Well, if you're down, then you wouldn't have access to email, obviously, but you could contact Sandy or Teresa, and they could help with it.
I have a comment there, or maybe a suggestion. If we could have a single point of contact, such as the front desk, as a place to go to when we have problems. Now, if it's a TV problem or a internet problem, maybe they don't use the work order system, but they have some kind of a log that they write things in to keep track of the problems, and then call Sandy. Because and then Sandy could check the log if they can't get a hold of her directly. The other kinds of things.
I'll just interject here. Sandy is keeping a log of it, and we don't want to overwhelm reception at this point. They are, since the change in guidelines for visitation, with guests having to provide their proof of vaccination card and or negative test result, has put a lot more on our receptionists. And with all of their other duties. And so we don't want to duplicate efforts. Sandy, as part of her role, she's tracking that information. So there's no need to duplicate it. We will just have Sandy do it.
I understand that, but my other question is, when we have someone here working on the internet that's going to cause an outage for one or more people, somebody needs to be able to keep track of that. And so if others have problems, they could say, oh, well, there's maintenance being done on the internet wiring up on the third floor on the south wing. And Sandy's probably not even in the loop on that, is she?
Typically she is, because if we know in advance from, let's say, our IT department that they're coming in to do maintenance, or they're doing it remotely on our system, we get, first of all, I have to approve it myself, and we get notification, and then we know, if we're going to be out for a period of time, then we notify you. But otherwise, we also notify the staff so they're aware.
Well, see, that was Terry's problem last Friday. His computer went down. He had nowhere to turn, and the internet was out. And I found out later, I guess, through the front desk, after they did some checking, that they were actually working on the circuit. Is that right, Terry?
No, I have already investigated that situation, and Terry and I have since spoken. His router was rebooted. He had to reboot his router, but it didn't have anything to do with the rest of Walnut Village. It was just an
Okay,
issue
so it
related
wasn't
to-
maintenance or nothing, no maintenance was
No.
on.
That
Okay.
disagreement.
No.
The person was in the chapel working in something totally different. And what got communicated back to me was not reality.
I guess I'm not the only one.
What's he trying to say, Henry?
Okay. Okay, so we're going to use Sandy as the single point of contact for our internet Wi-Fi problems. Is that also true for the television as well, Nadine?
Yes, television and telephone.
That,
Okay,
That's primarily her role. So it makes most sense that he tracks it. So we don't want to use another department to do the same thing.
but if there's a planned outage, is there some way we can communicate that to the residents?
Yes, if there's a planned outage that we know of in advance that's going to take the system down for a period of time, then absolutely we will notify you.
Okay. And okay, that covers that. Sure, great. All righty, let's see. So let me show you some other kind of things. People are talking about getting Christmas gifts, and I said, well, you know, here's some good ideas about getting some gifts if you like to buy T-shirts. So let me show you this one here. So here's a nice pair of T-shirts. And then here's another one. Now this is for PC users. Well, it actually applies to Macs as well, computer users. And here's "You Are My Sunshine," and there's the sunshine over here. And here's super tiny, super cute baby, super mom, super wife, and super tired, super big, super loud, super kid. And Mr. Right, and Mrs. Always Right. And of course, I thought this was great, you know, together since 1952. Where you lead, I will follow. How about that? Okay. Let's get rid of some of this stuff here so I don't get lost. Because I got a lot of different things on my screen here. Today we were also going to try to. Well, I have a little story. We're going to get into our story about the porch in just a few minutes. I just want to make sure we have. This is a story here that I want to just tell you about. The husband and wife who work for the. This is in case you want to get an adoption, okay? And adoptions are great things, especially if you have reasons that you cannot have a child on your own. So this is a husband and wife who work in the circus. They go to adoption agency looking for adopted child. The social workers, however, sort of raise their doubts about their suitability. So the couple produces photos of their 50-foot motorhome, clean and well-maintained and equipped with a beautiful nursery. The social workers are satisfied by this, and they raise concern about the kind of education a child would receive while in the couple's care. And the husband puts his mind at ease and says, well, arrange for a full-time tutor who will teach the child at the usual subjects along with French, Mandarin, and computer skills. Next, though, the social worker expressed concern about a child being raised in a circus environment. This time, the wife explains, "Oh, our nanny is a certified expert in pediatric care, welfare, and diet." So the social workers, they were sort of running out of questions by this time. So they're finally satisfied and asked the couple, "Well, what age are you hoping to adopt?" And the husband says, "Well, it doesn't really matter as long as the kid fits in a cannon." Do you get that?
It's a can,
The kid fits in the cannon.
cannon.
Cannon, C-A-N-N.
The cannon.
Circus
All
cannon.
righty, well, I
Yeah,
tried.
Circus cannon, boom.
Cannon goes boom, yes. Oh, well, let's see. So anyhow, so Joe and I have been working on this little project for a little while. I started asking Joe about these things, about this the port backlog, and Joe works with that. He's part of the problem, part of the solution. And Joe's actually a vice president of one of these companies that operate the trucks that pick up all the stuff and from the ports and deliver them to the warehouses and all that kind of thing. And they're having problems because the system is very large and complex, and it's gotten bigger and it's got more traffic. And you see it as evidenced by, instead of having 1 or 2 ships in the harbor, now there's 100 or so. And they're all waiting to get their stuff off so they can go get the next load and move on. And the delays now are, instead of 1 or 2 days at anchor and then 3 or 4 days getting offloaded, it's taking weeks. And the poor sailors, they're stuck aboard these ships. They can't really go anywhere, and they have all these problems because of the vaccine mandates and quarantines, and they can't do all that kind of stuff. So they have a problem. The ports have a problem. The warehouses have a problem. And of course, the retailers, they're trying to sell all this stuff, and their shelves are kind of empty. If you go to Costco right now, they won't sell you four bundles of toilet paper anymore because they're short. And it's just like before in the pandemic. So anyhow, we were trying to figure out how to describe this backlog in the ports. And if you go to listen to the news, more and more we find that the news has an axe to grind for whatever purposes they have. And you're not really just getting the facts anymore. And it's very hard to follow and believe. So that's where I had to ask Joe, is this true? And he says, no, that's not true. And then we got the details. So let me show you a little thing that Joe and I put together. And hopefully you'll get to understand more about what this is, what this is all about. Okay. So what you should know about backlogs in the port.
Off the coast of Los Angeles, the reason you're paying more for everyday items and perhaps struggling to find some in the store, a vital parking lot in the Pacific. Container ships, mostly from Asia, stretching across the horizon. 76 ships waiting for up to 10 days each to enter the port of Los Angeles or nearby Long Beach. Everywhere you look, there's a ship just sitting out here in the water. And 500,000 containers. But this is just one component of the stretched global supply chain that runs from Asian manufacturers across the Pacific to American consumers, now backed up and bottlenecked.
In the last month and a half, we're averaging 18 ships a day.
That's nearly double the number that arrived daily before the pandemic.
We are all seeing about a 30% increase in our cargo activity year over year.
Getting the goods from the ships in the harbors to their final destination requires 4 steps in the process. Terminals unloading and loading the ships, trucks picking up the loads and delivering the warehouses unloading containers and getting them into the system. The system only is as good as its weakest link.
I order something, comes to America on a container ship. Can you outline the steps to get it to my door?
Well, the first thing we have to do is get that international box off the vessel into the port. And then we need a trucker to come into that port and bring that generally to another warehouse. And then we need another driver to come in and then move that across the country or wherever its destination is, a distribution center.
And it sounds like truckers are sort of key to all of that.
Just about everything that you touch, everything you buy or consume has been at one point or another on a truck, for sure.
It's not just California. New York's ports are also backed up and leading to a shortage of everything from electronics to toys to cars and car parts, building materials, clothing, and sending prices higher. A lot of those holiday gifts you're hoping to give right now may be stuck sitting out here.
Unloading the ships depends upon the terminal operations, and they need to have space to put the cargo in the yard as full containers or empty containers. And recently, instead of stacking them 3 high, they have gone to stacking them up to 6 high or more, which is rather dangerous because they are not anchored. You can see how high these are stacked over here. These are actually 7 high here. And here's what the yard looks like.
One of these containers can hold 10,000 pairs of sneakers, 200 queen-size mattresses, 70 giant flat-screen TVs. So 95% of consumer goods come into the United States in these very containers.
And these are how many containers are aboard ship?
Those big container ships, how many of these are they carrying?
Anywhere between 9,000 and 16,000 of these boxes at a time.
And this pile is how many?
A couple hundred.
It's taking 3 times longer to clear vessels at the ports compared to before the pandemic. And the Long Beach port is already working 24/7.
Start to order now.
Matt Schrapp, CEO of the Harbor Trucking Association, says working 24/7 won't solve everything.
The challenges is space on the one hand, and then enough vessels capacity that's available to move those containers back to their point of origin.
Trucks can't carry containers without a chassis. The chassis is the trailer part of the vehicle with the frame and wheels which the container sits on. These chassis are owned by special companies that supply all the truckers in the area, with a few exceptions. The chassis are operated using a pooled concept that supports all the terminals, but unfortunately, all the chassis in the pool are red tagged because of maintenance and repairs necessary.
Backlogged empty containers contributing to a shortage around the world, dramatically increasing the cost of shipping. From China to the U.S., roughly $1,300 to more than $16,000. What took an average of 41 days now takes 75. Adding to strained operations at the ports, there's labor shortages at every step in the supply chain, from the longshoremen to warehouse workers to what could be the most dire, a need for tens of thousands of truck drivers nationwide.
Driver availability is limited because of the 14 hours per day driving restrictions, and they also need 10 hours of rest, and that can only do this 6 days a week, which is a Department of Transportation rule. But it's made worse when they have to wait at the gate 3 or 4 hours because of the congestion at the port. Drop-off of a container at a warehouse depends upon whether or not they work 24/7 or some smaller ones only work one shift. If the trucker arrives with it's closed, he has to come back the next day, and that contributes to another delay and wasted time. So you can see there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and it's not easy to find solutions, but we're going to try to answer some of your questions now. So I hope that this stuff somewhat helps understand an overview of the situation. We don't necessarily have the answers, though.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Joe, you got any comments first?
Oh, well, everybody should give a big hand to Bob for putting all the graphics together. He did a magnificent job.
Yeah, that's neat.
Well, I stole everybody else's material. That's what
It's all right, it worked. Yeah, the comment I would make, there are a couple of misdirections there because we could not edit them out. When the gentleman was floating around in the water, there's 500,000 containers. The normal way these people always talk about containers is in 20-foot equivalents. So it takes two 20-foot containers to make 140. When you see those numbers, you need to divide them by 2. And the young lady who was speaking about the time up to, what, 70 some days, she was speaking about the trip from Asia to Europe, Asia to the West Coast, max at 45 days. It's about it's normally a 2-week trip or less, about 12 days. And then the dwell time in the harbor has been up to 3 or 4 weeks. So just to set that part of it straight. And, you know, the cost factor that you saw, that is very, very real, from 1,800 to 18,000.
Yeah, in fact, it takes us, the time it comes to a ship leaving China to get to the port of Los Angeles is now exceeded by the time the ship is anchored off Los Angeles to get unloaded.
That is correct.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They sit in the harbor longer than it takes them to get here.
Yeah.
Yes. And the other thing, we were going to have Biden send in the National Guard to solve this problem. Then he realized the National Guard couldn't help, and they finally backed off on that question. So don't expect the National Guard to solve this problem either. So,
well, he also wants everybody to work 24/7.
Right.
And that's an impossibility. We can't do that. There's too many restrictions and laws and things.
Yeah.
Real laws.
The best thing that I could see as the systems kind of guy is that everything's out of sync. And if you have a chain of sequential operations, you have to have them sort of synchronized so that when one hands off to the other or the other one's ready to go, and you don't want to have a bunch of stuff stacking up in the middle, because that just clogs the whole system. And that's what we have today. Things are out of sync. There's a lot of queues or stacks in between all the steps, and that's what's screwing everything up. How do we solve it? We're going to try to talk about that maybe in a future session. My bias is they have spot shortages in labor and equipment and chassis, and things are out of place because they had surges and then they had delays because of the pandemic. And I don't know how long, if you just let things go, would it settle down and finally get back into sync and a good flow? There might have to be some kind of some magic added to the system to figure out how to get it back in sync, or add more capacity and certain steps to do that. For instance, we talk about a driver shortage. It's not a shortage of drivers. We just can't use the drivers because of the restrictions on their time limits. But of course, if we had twice as many drivers and twice as many trucks, then there wouldn't be a shortage as far as the terminals see it, things like that.
Let me back you up just a little bit. The first thing you do to unplug this whole mess, it's like a bathtub full of water. You got to pull the plug out so it can drain. And until you get chassis available to all the trucking so that they can pull these containers out of that terminal, it's not going to drain. You can do anything else you want to do. They're going to stay there. They need to have the wheels. So that's the first thing. Do fix the chassis and then go to the next step.
Judy?
Question, Bob, did you misspeak? You said all the chassis were red tagged, and I thought Joseph said some of them were red tagged and couldn't be used, and nobody's.
Well, okay.
The ones that are in the yard, Judy, right now, you'll see them, if you drive down Ocean Boulevard, you'll see them on the fences all stacked up. The ones that are all red, most of them are red tagged. About 15% of the red tags are legitimate. There's a mechanical or something's wrong with the chassis. That's my laundry. The next thing is they put little red tags on them because they need a bulb, a mud guard, or some minor thing that could be fixed very simply. But nobody wants to step up and do that. Somebody's going to have to pay for it, and the longshore wants to be the ones that do it. So that's the bug.
Well, my interpretation, I didn't use the very specific words, but I was thinking like the pool is the ones that are not being used. The ones that are in the pool and out being used, I don't consider in the pool
they're still
anymore.
okay, yes.
Yeah, they're
But
in use.
Once the container is on a chassis and the chassis is being delivered someplace, the trucker is not going to give that chassis up because he's going to come back with an empty container, get another full one and go again. So that keeps them all out of the pool. The pool itself is the one that's empty right now.
Yeah, the pool is like a reserve, and it's not a reserve anymore. It's because they're all messed up with red tags.
So in the meantime, if anybody wants to really, go back over the chart or has questions, you can send me an email, call me on the phone, or go to dinner and I'll talk about it. And now Bob is almost an expert now too.
Well, I was reading all kinds of interesting things. Part of the big problem right now is the actual warehouses. The warehouses are causing a backlog, which sort of makes it pushes against the delivery from the truckers. And the warehouses have problems because the jobs in the warehouses are not fun anymore. If you go to an Amazon warehouse, it's highly automated. They give you good pay, but they work you from every minute of the shift, and people don't like it, and they only stay for a little while, and then they go on to a better job. So they're having high turnover. They're looking for 150,000 people to hire for the Christmas season. I don't know where they're going to get them because they got burned out in the warehouses. And of course, once you get to the warehouse, then you go to another trucking concept based upon the domestic truckers, and they don't necessarily use containers anymore. Now these are just big trucks stuffed with all kinds of goods going to different distribution centers or retailers or whatever. And they're governed by the Teamsters Union, right? With another set of rules.
And everybody's governed by the DOT. So they all have.
And you know how cooperative those guys are. So
A long time ago. Louis wanted to talk a long time ago.
Oh yeah, Louis, go.
He answered my question. I was worrying about the carriages. What happened to them?
What happened to?
All righty. Well, and then there's another rail component. If you're not going to move it from the shipyards by truck, you can remove it by rail. And there was an article in the Wall Street Journal just this morning about how the rails cannot accept any more business from the shipyards because the rails are backed up. They're distribution centers, and they're short of this and short of that, and there's no place for them to store this stuff. So the whole thing is starting to cascade, and I'm not sure that we've seen the worst of it yet. Is that
Maybe we're all buying too much.
We predict that has nothing to do with it. It predicts next summer, maybe before you get this jam straightened out.
Yeah.
Maybe we're all buying too much.
Well,
it doesn't make any difference what you buy, Barbara, because you can't get it anyway. So
no, part of it is we're manufacturing too much stuff overseas.
Yeah.
If we were making this in Iowa, we wouldn't have the same problem. Okay.
Right.
But domestic goods have other kinds of issues. And their prices are high and their shelves are bare and competition's terrible. So their prices are going up too. So anyhow, this is adding to the cost of shipping. Shipping is 20% of the cost of sales. So you can see that the cost of goods is going to go up higher when the shipping costs go up by a factor of 5. So we'll see how many people can absorb this, how many companies can absorb this, and how many little guys are going to get hurt on this whole thing. It's a sad story, and there are really no easy answers. If you guys have any answers, come forward. Let Joe know. He's connected into this whole thing. He's probably one of the #1 shippers in the West Coast, right, Joe?
Yes, for the truckers, we are.
Yeah. And then we have another story for exports. This is just for imports. Exports. The reason it's complex is because they're doing exports and imports at the same time at the terminals, because the ships can't leave empty because they'll fall over. So you have to balance the ships by putting either full containers or other empties back on the board the ship to have the proper balance so they can make their trip back to the other country. And of course, they have to carry a lot of empties with them, because if they don't have any empty containers, they're going to have a backlog trying to, move the goods if there's no empties. So there's a lot of balance in this whole thing, and it's not just as simple as that little 4-step diagram I made.
There's no switch.
Anyhow, if you're interested in this anymore, there's a lot more detail. What I would try to do is take this huge amount of information and put it down into something so you can just get a feel for what the big problems are, and understand how to separate all the political speech about it, because there are no simple wave by wand and it'll go away kind of problems, solutions. So anyone want to hear any more of it about next week? Show of hands. Have you had enough? I've had enough.
Yeah.
I'll move on to other stuff. Okay.
Where's your funny pictures?
My funny pictures?
Oh, yeah, you always have funny pictures at the end.
Oh yeah, I always have those kinds of things. Okay, let me move on. So this so we also have problems, as you know. Let's see. I gotta move this here so I can get this here, get down here, and then do this one. So here's the new gas gauges coming out on cars now. You can see it's instead of half full or half empty, this is the price to fill it up.
Very good.
Please insert your credit card. Make your model of your car, follow your annual salary. Your loan has been approved. You may fill up. Here's a police artist sketch of the robbery suspect. Spend your tax refund here. Actually, these aren't very funny pictures, Joe, but that's what I have. I'm not broken down. I just thought you'd be cheaper than buying gas. And he's
You do too. Very clever.
Here we go. Unleaded. Oh my God. What the hell? And we're registered at Shell Mobile, BP, and Texaco. Just engaged. Now this is like an auction house in New York.
Hi.
And here's guy's whistling. He's got a little car. The other guy's got the big giant SUV. And this is another reverse of the first one. Back in 52, gasoline cost 20 cents a gallon. When you pulled up the pumps, 3 guys came out, checked your oil, your tires, clean your windows. And this little guy saying, that must be, they call senility. You know, when you had to walk 6 miles through the snow to get to school. And as though your parents couldn't afford gas either. So, okay. Those are the gas jokes. Okay. Now let's see if I can find. I got a few more here. Now you can see. Ever wonder why American bald eagles are always photographed from the side? This might tell you why.
Is that real?
It's a young one.
And here's another bird joke. I just sold my homing pigeon on eBay for the 22nd time. These require a little thinking, you know. Yeah, finished 3 books yesterday, and believe me, it's a lot of coloring. I tried donating blood today. Never again. Too many stupid questions. Whose blood is it? Where did it get it from? Why is it in a bucket? I'm bored. Let's play the guess the animal game. To make it harder, I blank faces out. Yeah, right. And my boss arrived at work in a brand new Lamborghini. I said, wow, that's an amazing car. He replied, if you work hard, put all your excellence, your hours in, strive for excellence, I'll get another one next year. I offer to wash your back and shower. All you have to do is say yes or no, not all this, who are you and how'd you get in here? On an average, a panda feeds approximately 12 hours a day. This is the same as an adult at home under quarantine, which is we call a pandemic. You have to think about that, right? Struggling to get your wife's attention, just sit down and look comfortable. Ho, ho, ho. A shout out to everyone who can still remember their childhood phone number, but can't remember the password they created yesterday. You're my people.
That's me.
And so ends another week without becoming unexpectedly rich. There's nothing scarier than a split section when you lose balance in the shower and you think, are they going to find me naked? This one I'm not going to comment about. You can figure it out. You're not fat, you're just easier to see. And here's a sentimental one. The best times in our lives, we were not about what we had, but who we were with. That's sort of true. A vote is not a Valentine. You are not confessing to your love for the candidate. It's a chess move for the world you want to live in. And that takes a little thought. Walking back to the car because you forgot your mask is a kind of new pissed off. And here is the time of year when I get to pretend the 5 pounds of candy I'm buying is for trick-or-treaters. Oh, I have a question for everybody. What do you think is the oldest candy that was pretty much used all the time in Halloween?
Tootsie Rolls.
No, candy corn. Candy corn. It was actually bought out by the Jelly Bellies guys. So now I guess it's, I don't know if it's Jelly Belly candies or corn or whatever. But, Tootsie Rolls are pretty old too, yeah. First million people to send me $1 will get a copy of my guide on how to become a millionaire using Facebook. I'll do that.
That's a good one.
And that's the end of them. So that just about kills our time tonight. Anyone have let's see, next Friday, we're going to be getting into some of this Halloween stuff. Well, we'll just be voting on the pumpkins on Friday night. But so I guess we could have a regular session next week. No big deal. If anybody wants to let me know if they have some subjects they want to cover or stories they want to contribute, I'm always open for ideas. So otherwise, I'll dig up some other ones. Maybe it'll be a hit or not. Barbara.
I just want to remind everybody to go to the committee fair. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Bob,
All righty.
ask you not to dig up people at Halloween. That's kind of